Welcome. Provided you and I exist in the same dimension of reality, I'd like to think that you and I would be able to coalesce on certain facts, such as the statement, "Some ideas are better than others." Inexplicably, there exist people who disagree with this statement, almost invariably the victims of some relativist philosophy. The mere existence of this hypothetical Darwin Award is more than enough to question humanity's collective intelligence, but more often a healthy cynicism can be found in those who agree with this statement. Conceding that some ideas are better than others opens up the debate over what ideas a given idea is better than and why. Necessarily, this demands a contest of utility. Which idea satisfies a certain function better, or which idea satisfies more functions than another, or which idea satisfies more important functions than another. The challenge will be one of efficiency. Does a given solution address a given problem better and/or with less resources than its alternatives? Unfortunately, this challenge will often be obscured by a more pressing challenge, the language games which attend the proposition. Worse than being tricked into accepting an idea by mere rewording or superficial presentation are those hopelessly convinced by such trickery who turn around and perpetuate the same out of a genuine belief that a difference in words entails a difference in reality. Take for example the statement, "Pigs can fly." Say for what instances you can suppose where a pig may become capable of flight, say on a plane, it's natural to conclude this statement is immediately false. However, the statement can easily become true, not through some transformation of the subject, but by a simple redefinition of the words in use. Suppose by the word pig, we mean parrots. Rather than describing a mammal, we're describing a bird. In this sense, the statement "pigs can fly" can be accepted as true. The same truth value can be arrived at by providing an alternative meaning for the word fly. It takes much less effort on the part of the preacher to propose a radical idea when it's defined in less than radical terms. It's not uncommon nowadays for people to advocate racism by defining it not as a prejudice, but as an acknowledgement that races exist. Why yes, Group A and Group B do appear to be different. I suppose it stands to reason that we should treat them differently. Never mind questioning the utility or the motives behind making such a distinction in the first place. It's comparatively easy to shove off on the unwitting all manner of absurdities as true provided you've seeded their perception of reality with a host of redefinitions. Vaccines are poison, if you define them that way. Interracial sex is genocide, if you define it that way. Religion is anything you believe in, if you define it that way. Overwhelmingly, though, we don't define things in these ways because these words have conventional definitions which we share for the purposes of communicating in common language. Even accepting that there are conventional definitions, though, doesn't resolve the question of utility. Perhaps these words would be better served meaning something other than what they are conventionally interpreted to mean. Perhaps it would serve an agenda of mine to frame my worldview in terms specifically defined in such a way as to be unobjectionable. This is where we play the language game. Be it politics, philosophy, or any other area of life, one of the most pervasive strategies in persuading one side to join another is not actually to present both sides honestly, transparently, and with clear or impartial language, but to define one side as right or good, and another as wrong or evil. This can be as blatant or subversive as you can imagine, but let's take a look at a classic example: anarchism. Now, the conventional definition of anarchy is well understood to be disorder in the absence of government. It's also a popular synonym for chaos or mob violence. Yet according to the self-described anarchists, this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, anarchy is exactly the opposite of this. You clearly haven't read enough anarchist theory. Anarchism isn't about chaos or disorder, it's about freedom. Anarchy means no rulers. That's the only definition. All other definitions are wrong. People who think anarchy is an absence of government are just ignorant. If you would watch these videos, read these books, and agree to my definitions, you would see the way. And you would, provided an excess of generosity, inquire as to how an anarchist can advocate government. And they would clarify, anarchists aren't against government. Anarchists are against the state. Now, many people would use government and state as synonyms for each other, and still others, more articulate, would distinguish between a body which creates and enforces rules, a government, from the area in which that body operates, the state. Yet if the state is merely the government of a given area, is not the anarchists still objecting, by definition, to government? Surely they do not advocate an ethereal form of government without a tangible presence in reality. And so they would answer your naive question, of course not. You're using the word state wrong. State is not just the government of a given area. It's not the territory in which a legal jurisdiction operates. It's not even the realm in which citizens share equal protection under the law. No, the state is a monopoly on force. It's a weapon used to coerce you into doing the bidding of corrupt politicians. And as simple as that, we've defined reality out of existence. Suddenly, anarchy isn't chaos in the absence of government. It is order in the presence of government. It is not mob violence. It is peaceful democracy. And already I can hear the rapid typing of keys feverishly working to debunk me before the end of this paragraph to explain to me, and for all manner of other reasons, that democracy is a tyranny of the majority. And yet here's a described anarchist saying democracy is not a form of government. Now, granting that this is only anecdotal evidence, how do you suppose anyone could arrive at this conclusion? Could it be that they like the idea of democracy, but not the idea of government, and they chose to redefine it to suit their worldview? Is it any less probable that people like the idea of anarchy, of pure, unrestricted freedom, but not of the idea of a social contract, and so redefined it to suit their worldview? Every voluntary interaction between two people necessitates a concession of freedoms. If you don't take away my freedoms, I won't take away yours. Forfeiting your freedom to rob another person of their freedom is a voluntary exchange. In return for giving up some freedoms, other freedoms are then protected. The vast majority of us have more interest in not getting stabbed in the back than stabbing others in the back, so it's a practical trade. What use have I to the right to aggress against you when it's much more valuable collateral for protection against being aggressed against? Hence is the foundation of all civilization. But more often you will never arrive at such intuitive conclusions, such demonstrable cost-benefit analysis, such appeals to utility. No, instead, you will be mired in an endless carnival of misrepresentations, redefinitions, and special pleading. Indeed, there are numerous other paths of argumentation I could go down, and deconstruct one by one, exposing how today's anarchists are not even anarchists at all, and that the theories which form the foundation of their beliefs are overwhelmingly predicated on a merciless disregard for impartial, practical, or conventional definitions. I don't like it when you say authority. Authority is a dirty word. I don't like it when you say the ownership of a thing grants you authority over it. How about ownership is a precondition of association? My back hurts just seeing you stretch that far. That's some Cirque du Soleil level contortionism you got going on. And I'm not just picking on anarchists. You can find this sort of bullshit across all theaters of debate. Take socialism, for instance. You know, the USSR, that wasn't real socialism. That was state capitalism. You know, my back was already hurting, but now on top of that, I think I got whiplash from how much blame you just shifted. Once again, here we have a gratuitous oxymoron tortured into existence for no other reason than because someone wants to preserve the good name of their Soviet comrades. And of course, it's not just socialists either. Case in point.
Today, too, money is a question of confidence. So the currency, today isn't money, today we're using currency.
They don't understand the difference between money and currency. They're calling all of this money, and it has nothing to do with money.
This distinction serves no functional purpose other than to seed ideologically charged language into your vocabulary. Beware the language game. The point of sharing definitions is so that you can communicate with other people by reference to a common association of words and their meanings. You let someone get between you and this process, and you may find your ability to communicate intelligibly compromised by a political agenda. We already have more than enough words to describe someone who dislikes corrupt bureaucracies that invade our personal lives, interfere in the economy, warmonger overseas, and rob us of our hard work to fund stupid shit nobody voted for. It's not an anarchist, it's not a socialist, and it's not a capitalist either. It's called being a rational human being. Oh, but hold on. You thought I was gonna give Georgists the slip here? Oh no, fuck Georgists. Check this shit out. Land value tax is not a tax. It's a use fee. Shut the fuck up. I know this is gonna sound weird coming from me, for all the fucking profanity I use, but let's stop trying to weaponize language against each other. The whole debate about politics is what's good for the polis, what's good for the people. If you have to lie to persuade someone of an idea, then maybe your idea wasn't that great to begin with. Once again, and as always, bring an open mind. Leave your taboos at the door, because nothing is immune to criticism. Question everything. And thank you for listening.
Now, on the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Do you know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it.